Magandang gabi. Ating simulan ang ating sesyon sa pamamagitan ng pagdasal. Panalangin para sa halalan 2022. Sa ngalan ng Ama, ng Anak, ng Espiritu Santo. Amen. Halalan na naman po. Nasa kamay na naman namin ang kapangyarihang mabago ang kapalaran ng higit na 100 milyong Pilipino, lalo na ng 26 na milyong nabubuhay sa matinding kahirapan. Gawin mo po kaming mapanuri ng aming matuklasan kung ano ang katotohanan at kasinungalingan at ng aming matukoy ang pangalan ng mga pinunong magpapatikim sa amin ng iyong langit dito sa lupa. Banal na Espiritu, gawin mo pong sagrado ang halalang ito mula sa pangangampanya hanggang sa proklamasyon ng mga pinili mong maglilingkod sa bayan. Sa ika-500 anibersaryo ng Kristyanismo sa nag-iisang Kristiyanong bansa sa Asya, kami ay nagpapakumbabang humihingi ng kapatawaran sa aming pagwawalang bahala sa mga nagdurusa at nagkakalat ng kasamaan. Nagsusumamo kaming sanay handugan mo ang Pilipinas ng isang milagro, na ang buong sambayanan ay boboto ayon sa ikabubuti ng higit na nakararami para sa iyong higit na kaluwalhatian. Maria Immaculada Concepcion, patron ng Pilipinas, ipanalangin mo po kami. Here are some reminders for us to have a fruitful discussion. We will place everyone on mute. Please turn off your videos, place your name in your profile, and be respectful and professional in your posts and questions. Relevant questions will be referred by the moderator to the guest. The recording of this session will be uploaded in the College 1980 FB page and College 80 YouTube channel. The organizer is not aligned with any political party or individual. Yan po. Hello! Isang magandang at mapagpalang gabi sa inyong lahat. Ito na po ang pang-7 episode ng seryeng Ating Kilalanin ang mga Senatoriables. Ito ay proyekto ng Ateneo de Manila College Batch 1980 upang may pagkakataon tayong pakinggan ang plataporma, magtanong at kilatisin ang mga kumakandidato sa Senado. Sila na sa ngayon ay hindi nabibilang sa top 12. We are looking for leaders who will respect, obey, and defend the Constitution because we desire a just and humane society and establish a government that shall embody our ideals and aspirations, promote the common good, conserve and develop our patrimony, and secure to ourselves and our posterity the blessings of independence and democracy under the rule of law in a regime of truth, justice, freedom, love, equality, and peace. Yan po ang preamble ng ating 1987 Constitution. Kaya ayan po, maliwanag kung anong uri ng lipunan ng ating ninanais. At base rito ay may itutukoy na natin kung sino-sinong mambabatas ang karapat-dapat ng ating makapangyarihang boto. So nakikita niyo po ngayon ang preamble, no? So sana ito ay respetuhin, no, ng ating mga pipiliing mga senador. Kung maalala ninyo, isang sundalong nais bumalik sa Senado ang ating nakapanayam na. Bago sa kanya ay 3 abogado, 1 doktora at 1 katutubo naman ang ating nakilala. At tulad ng ating panauhin ngayong gabi ay nais nilang sa kauna-unahang pagkakataon ay maging isang senador upang maging kinatawan ng ilang sektor ng ating lipunan. Alam niyo po, ating ikinagagalak ng senatoriable na kapiling natin ay mula sa pangalawang pinakamalaking isla ng Pilipinas, ang Mindanao, na kilala bilang Land of the Promise dahil sa rich biodiversity at natural resources. Siya po ay si Samira. Nagtapos ng Communication and Master in International Studies sa UP Diliman at ang Bachelor of Law sa Arellano University. Kumuha rin siya ng fellowship program sa Oxford Center for Islamic Studies. Nakilala siya nang siya ay naging isang assemblywoman ng ARMM Legislative Assembly, naging miyembro ng Bangsamoro Transition Commission at ang Philippine Army Multi-Sectoral Advisory Board. Kasama rin siya sa pagtatag ng Ranao Rescue Team para sa Marawi ng Asian Peace Alliance at ng Lake Danau Development Project. Ngayon, upang makita natin si Samira Gutok in action, ay panoorin natin ito. Go video!
Babaeng may paninindigan, kasangga sa kapayapaan, babaeng proteksyon mo'y sigurado. Si Ate Sam, kakampi at boses ng mga bakuy. Vote for Samira Ate Sam Gutok, number 32 sa Senado. Samahan natin si Samira sa Senado. Tulong-tulong tayong lahat, isigaw ng sabay-sabay kay Samira. Kay Samira. Kay Samira. Kay Samira. Buhay natin iginawa, buhay natin iginawa. Kapit bisig sa kaunlaran, kapit bisig sa kaunlaran. Buhay natin iginawa, buhay natin iginawa. Kapit bisig sa kaunlaran, kapit bisig sa kaunlaran. Kay Samira. Kay Samira. Kay Samira. Kay Samira. Atin ang samahan si Samira sa Senado. Kakampi mo, katuwang sa edukasyon at kapayapaan, boses ng kababaihan, kabataan at person with disability. Si Ate Sam, kakampi at boses ng mga bakuy. Samira Ate Sam Gutok, number 32 sa Senado.
Ayan po. Si Ate Sam ang tawag sa kanya. Welcome, Miss Samira Gutok. Magandang gabi po, ma'am.
Hi, Ma'am Beth, Ma'am Bell. How are you? Wonderful. Thank you po to Batch 80 Ateneo.
Yeah. So, ma'am, ako po si Palu. P-A-L-O-U. Okay? Ma'am, natutuwa akong finally nagkatugma na tayong lahat. Ayun. Hello, ma'am.
Hi po, it's Sam again. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
you're back.
Maraming salamat. Hopefully, nandito pa rin sa Wi-Fi. Thank you, thank you.
Yes, okay, ma'am. Sige, batiin niyo po ang ating mga kasama ngayong gabi.
Yes po, magandang gabi. Assalamualaikum. I'm here po in Taytay, Rizal. It's our 14th day of the campaign on the 6th month of the trail namin po around the country. I'm so grateful to my Ateneo family, my ates and kuyas mo po. I won't call you po. Nagpo po ako. Ano ba yan? Ates and kuyas lang because you're 1 year older lang naman po.
Yes.
Nako, po pa rin. My Ateneo family is special because my brother and syempre the Ateneo Network I was there for several terms po as a law student. So thank you very much, ma'am.
Wow. Ma'am, 16 years old pala, aktivista na kayo. So halos i-reveal ko na yung age nyo, di ba? Halos sa
Yes, okay,
dekada na
ma'am,
kayo.
47. I'm
40.
bravely 47, trying to be mature, ma'am, enough to be
Enough.
accepted by you, ma'am, to run for the Senate. Yes po.
So, Miss Samira, tama po
Opo.
ba na ang pinakahuling Muslim na babae sa Senado ay si Santa Nina Rasul?
Yes, ma'am. At the 1991, she was a teacher. She was a publisher. Very, very innovative po. Yung PMA, opening itself to women, siya po yung nag-author. Women in a Nation building. Also, the Civil Service Act, or a law that would allow 7 years of service be already from provisional employee na maipasok na po sa full-term employee ng gobyerno.
So ngayon gusto niyo maging pangalawang Muslim na babae sa Senado. Naku,
Yes,
sana,
thank you.
yes, so sana makatulong ito kung mapupusuan kayo ng ating mga tagapanood. So ma'am, ganito ha. Mamaya bibigyan ko kayo ng 10 minuto para ipaliwanag ang inyong plataforma. Pero okay lang maging medyo personal tayo ngayon. Ma'am, this is a standard question, no? Kasi may kaugnayan to kay San Ignacio. Okay lang po? Mabilis
Yes, ma'am.
lang. Okay. So, nagsimula si San Ignacio, no? Patron at tagapagtatag ng Ateneo at Samahan ng mga Heswita, bilang isang sikat, no, at mahusay na sundalong naglilingkod sa hari ng Espanya. Nagbagong takbo ng kanyang buhay nang siya ay tinamaan ng isang cannonball sa binti. Ito ay nangyari 500 years ago. Sa panahong nagpapagaling siya, ay nagbasa siya ng mga aklat tungkol sa buhay ng mga santo. At sa kanyang pagninilay at pagdarasal ay nagkaroon siya ng conversion. Sinurrender niya ang kanyang sandata at naging isang kawal ni Kristo. Ang tawag namin sa pagbabagong loob na yan o conversion ay cannonball moment. Dahil nagsimula ang conversion ni San Ignacio nang tinamaan siya ng cannonball. So, Miss Samira, itong aking tanong, ano ang cannonball moment ninyo?
So many, ma'am, but I think one of the moments was having a Jesuit professor give me 1.25 in my
Oh.
in my one college course. He was a favorite professor of mine, Father Nugid. May God bless his soul. He, I think I was kapalmoks enough to be always raising my hand in classroom. I think he gave me that bravery, and my cannonball moment was reading one of the poetries in one of the books he referred to, and feeling that confidence that I can think for myself. So my cannonball moment is being with Father Nugid, a
Oh,
Jesuit.
wow. Oo, to be influenced, ha?
Yes, po.
By a Jesuit. So ito naman po ang susunod kong katanungan. Ano-ano ang inyong mga katangian, kaalaman, at karanasang kakaiba sa inyo na kapag pinagsama-sama ay hindi makikita sa ibang kandidato?
I try to be Colette. I think I have the Colette streak in me that it's not just about being a woman who tries to negotiate, who tries to mediate, who tries to find a way. But I'm sure the other women senatoriables are that way, kaya po veterano sila eh. But I think being exposed to death literally, ma'am, because of working as a rescue leader and a humanitarian worker, I think sets me apart. I mean, I don't talk about death as a matter of rhetoric. I talk about it as a up close personal experience of burying the dead with dignity and advocating for their rights, the dead, the missing, and the weak and the sick in hospital beds. So this is what brings me to running, ma'am. That I think the laws are the laws are existing, but they need to be reminded by a senator that survivorship and protection and burial all require dignity, dignity protection frameworks. And therefore, for instance, we need survivorship support for poor families with loved ones who are dead or missing from the drug killings, etc. So yes, ma'am, I feel for those who have lost families, and I think I have that necessary data, facts, narrative experience beside cemeteries to know and tell my history, my story, without pakundangan that I am lying about it. I am not lying about it. I know about it.
Wow. So yun ang kakaiba pala sa inyo, no? Talagang on the ground. Talagang naranasan yung up close and very, very personal.
I'm not a lalaki, but I had to be a leader na lalaki in a way na I had to lead rescue leaders for rescuing hostages and people who were stuck in a house now that's going to be bombed. And this is not because of being brave, of course not. I was placed in a situation to lead a group of people, men at that, who were waiting for my instructions to go inside houses. And this is because God has given me that role because ako ay babae and I was listened to by the army that would help navigate the volunteers. Thank you po, ma'am, that I am able to tell my story here.
Ma'am, ganito, kami mga taga-Luzon kasi ay halos walang first-hand experience sa pamumuhay sa Mindanao. Kaya't maaari niyo bang pakilarawan ng ilang pangungusap ang pagkakaiba ng Mindanao, siguro mga nung college student kayo at ang Mindanao ngayong 2022. Paano ba mabuhay sa Mindanao noon at ngayon?
1930s, ma'am, 40s, when the American colonial period awarded or recognized a framework called Regalian Doctrine na ina-award po yung lupain sa mga may titulo. problema po ng ating Mindanao na katutubo, and I'm sure the others as well, hindi po nila po naititulo ang kanilang lupain. So onward to 1970s, nagkaroon ng martial law, trillion pesos expenses, ma'am, ang patayan ng kapwa Pilipino. Sundalo versus rebelde, rebelde versus Pilipino. Grabe, di ba, ma'am? Na grabe po yung gastos natin 20 years of martial law. Hindi po ito tungkol sa anti-Marcos lang, ma'am. This is about trillion peso documented or recorded by the Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process data as published by Rappler. So napaka-importante po that in Mindanao and the Philippines, makita nila po ang kapwa nilang Mindanaoan. Kaya po kami nasa bangketa, merkado, lahat ng pwedeng makitang mga vendors dito sa Manila ay dahil po lumikas po sa awayan ng Mindanao. And so Mindanao, the land of expanse, land of promise, continues to be promised, although there are pockets of rich places like Davao, Jensan, and Zamboanga. But we really need to develop, ma'am, the industry, the farming, the roads, ma'am. We don't have a Mindanao railroad system as much as we have SLEX or NLEX that will facilitate travel cargo. Mas mahal po mag-travel or mas matagal mag-travel, ma'am, from within Mindanao than from Manila to Mindanao. Di ba how weird? Mas matagal po, 1 hour travel ko lang, ma'am, from Manila to Cagayan de Oro. Pero when I travel from Mindanao, Cagayan de Oro to 5 hours to other places in Mindanao, can you imagine?
So masasabi niyo underdeveloped talaga
Lot of
ang Mindanao.
maldevelopment, we call it, because napakahirap ng mahirap. Lowest in malnutrition, highest in infant mortality, lahat po ng mga HDI, tawag natin HDI, Human Development Index, and minimum basic needs are lowest as documented by the World Health and United Nations. Nandito sa amin. Wala po kaming wifi, maghanap po kami ng 5th floor for many locations like Tawi-Tawi.
Ma'am, kumusta pa lang naging Marawi rehabilitation ng pamahalaan?
Kailangan po, matayan, ma'am, kasi si President, of course, he promised a monthly visit para naman bastunin ang Marawi Rehab. Understand, is the chair through his Secretary of Housing. Pero ma'am, tatapos na po tayo, May 9, ay mukhang hindi pa makakabalik po yung 90,000 or so household or families within the ground zero, which is the critical part kasi ng Marawi. So imagine natin, ma'am, Divisoria, where are you from in QC? Parang namatay ang NEPA-Q Mart mo or the district natin na ABS-CBN area, where is the commercial district? Go ahead, Nats. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Low-tech.
Ang kinang ating yan na nga kasi, di ba? Wala pa tayo sa Mindanao niyan, hirap na, di lalo na kung
Can you
nasa Mindanao.
imagine, ma'am, kung anong nagastos sa trillion expenses? Di ba, Wi-Fi, telcos, kailangan i-expose, ma-remind tayo nun eh.
Okay. Ito, ma'am, kanina yung tanong ko, kasi gusto nating maging masagana ang Pilipinas. Pero naniniwala ba kayo na that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link? So, ibig sabihin, ito, nabasa ko to kay Maya Angelou, isang Amerikanang Makata, no, at civil rights activist. Sabi niya, if it is true that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, isn't it also true a society is only as healthy as its sickest citizen and only as wealthy as its most deprived? So ma'am, anong masasabi niyo tungkol dito kaugnay sa mga Muslim o Moro, lalo na sa mga katutubo at
Thank
sa mga
you, totoo yan, ma'am. The pain of one is the pain of all. Ang sakit ng kalingkingan, ang sakit ng buong katawan. When there's one bombing in Sulu, Cotabato, or Marawi, it affects Davao, it affects Manila because of red flag advisories against embassies on travel towards their foreign citizens who are supposed to travel towards the Philippines. And alam niyo po, tourism receipts are major receipts at income generator natin sa Pilipinas. So napaka-importante po that the deprived, the hopeless, the helpless, and the farthest are those that are also put in bridge towards national belongingness po, no? Nakasama kami sa call centers or whatever development. FYI, ma'am, I'm part of the Mindanao State University, 7 campuses are UP Diliman State University in Mindanao. There are only so few factories in Marawi and in so many parts of our country in these provinces, no? And seeing the country in so many of the travels, right, in 6 months, ma'am, talagang kita ko, ma'am, kulang yung employment and Even the farming, no? Tayo mga kabataan, kaming mga youth, many of us feel embarrassed to be a farmer, of fisher folk.
Mhm.
As I appeal, no? As a legislator, I will try to give dignity by farming scholarships, giving farmers the necessary, how do you call, medical assistance, and their children the necessary incentives so that they'll take farming and farming of the family as a serious industry or a serious profession.
Sige, ma'am. So now you have 10 minutes to explain your platform.
Samira Gutok is in charge of evacuation, where Philippines is top 10 in disaster
Mhm.
crisis. But it lacks the technology. It is not able to anticipate as many of the necessary earthquakes, typhoons, fires, and even pandemic that it should have monitored or prevented so many deaths from. So Samira Gutok, because of us being survivor of Marawi siege that fled 500,000, half a million people, I know that I can contribute to protection law that will guarantee vulnerable sectors access to ambulance, sanitation, and health assistance, if not subsidy for their food. Because ma'am, as you know, Bayanihan to Heal Act had to pass through a law.
Mhm.
Dapat po pag disaster and crisis and contingency na po, kasama na po iyan sa budgetary allocation by which it's not necessarily needed to pass a law. Like Taal erupts, you're supposed to have already automatic allocation from a contingency emergency fund that the National Disaster Council does not have power with because they're a council and they have to await convening. So what Samira proposes is an automatic powers and an automatic allocation from an internally displaced law. You call it displaced persons law. And that is displaced from natural disaster, displaced from conflict. They're supposed to have evacuation sites ready, budgets for food ready, medicines ready, ma'am. That is the platform of a mother. And I hope you can relate to me as a woman. Kailangan po ready dahil every segundo sa krisis ay
Mhm.
may mamamatay sa segundo na yan.
Mhm. Ma'am, maliban dyan, meron pa ba kayong isusulong sa Senado?
I think that's basic, ma'am. I think protection law is
Protection
what
law.
I
Okay.
bring to the fore. And of course, as you see, something is on my head. It's violet. But many of us women have facial cover, Muslim women, LGBTs, persons with disabilities, and other sectors who are not part of hiring. They are not affirmatively included by a company's hiring policy. I'd like to push for anti-discrimination law that will
Mhm.
automatically tell companies like Jollibee McDo na dapat may PWD, dapat po may LGBT, dapat po may Muslim para po multi-diverse and multicultural ang environment, and therefore we learn from each other.
Okay, ma'am. Sige. Ngayon, tatanungin ko naman ang inyong paninindigan. What is your stand on divorce? Kasi ang ating constitution, sinasabi that marriage is permanent and indissoluble in nature. In fact, it is an inviolable social institution. Are you for divorce?
Respects to the church po. When I say I'm for divorce, I hope the church understands that my experience is knowing data from VAUC, Violence Against Women, from working with DILG and women's groups and feminist groups on having access to quicker and accessible documentation of removing the barriers to having a document na pwede na kaming malaya because sinuntok-suntok kami ng forever at iniwanan na rin kami ng OFW husband namin or inabandonan na kami at nag-asawa ng pangalawa yung lalaki, ma'am. So when I say yes, divorce, these are extreme measures. Of course, we want to preserve the family. Only upon proof na lahat po iyon ay ginagawa sa atin, tayo ang naka-experience na kasamaan ay pro-divorce si Sam.
Okay. How about abortion? Will you defend the right to life of the unborn?
I will defend the right to life of the unborn, not just because I'm Muslim and we are a Catholic nation, because that fetus, of course, is already breathed life into. And of course, there's a law or a Supreme Court case, Roe versus Wade, that there is a trimester or so which justifies, no? But in this country, I'd like to first promote responsible parenthood, tell the children or young women who got pregnant that it's okay not to be okay. Of course, we understand we need to help assist them in that process, but don't abort. Sana po don't abort.
Okay. How about death penalty? Will you go for it?
Nagagalit po yung mga Muslims sa akin that I'm anti-death penalty. It's just because I know that in our legal system in the Philippines, developing situation, that there are so many innocents that are detained and just need legal aid. Please provide legal aid and I will push for death penalty for heinous crimes.
Anong
For now,
crime
not
po
yet.
yan?
For now,
Anong
not
gusto-
yet.
Now, okay. So how about same-sex union or same-sex marriage?
Same-sex union because I'm pushing first for anti-discrimination law and civil rights for both LGBT couple because they have contractual obligations to each other when they commit to each other. Alam ko po maraming transgender or these LGBTs who have lost rights because akala nila niloko sila sa mga properties nila ng lalaki or whoever. Yes, we need to push for still anti-discrimination law before same-sex. So contractual agreements and an anti-discrimination law.
Muna. Okay. How about, anong stand niyo po sa West Philippine Sea?
Protection of our fisher folk in the territorial jurisdiction and enforcement of the Hague ruling as already documented and already articulated by this international jurisdiction. Samira Gutok is an international studies student. She understands the value of negotiation of bilateral and multilateral alliances. We need to work with Vietnam and all countries that have property territorial rights over the sea. You know, we're a tiny country versus China. But so I know that we need to work together to protect our own.
So hindi po kayo natatakot sa China?
No, ma'am. We need to to exercise as much diplomacy as we can. So exercise note writing, diplomatic tracks, and multilateral alliances so that we can assert more pag marami tayo.
O ngayon ma, mag-a-assert din ba kayo sa tuko sa drug war? Papayagan nyo bang ICC pumunta dito at mag-imbestiga?
I was misinterpreted by Karen Davila. Of course, I was 1 week into Manila upon filing my candidacy, and people bashed me for saying yes, drug war is the accomplishment. No, I meant in that way that it's drug war is just the only thing that I can think of that I could associate with President Duterte at that moment, at that second. Please do not bash me, misunderstand me, that I do not regard and honor and remind the accountability over the deaths of EJK victims, women who've lost husbands, and parang tinapon lang na katawan along the streets. So I know that the drug war is a war that we have to fight, but exercise caution, exercise accountability. Police officer enforcement must be responsible. Work with the community on whistleblowers that can talk about it, expose about it.
Political dynasties.
Dynasties. I don't belong to a dynasty, and therefore I can be a support. I am of support to decentralizing power, but I also recognize that dynasties exist all over the country, and dynasties are in Congress. So if we can regulate the numbers of people who are in power, 2 or 3 of them, hindi naman siguro buong 5 sa pamilya ay nasa poder. Kailangan po may regulatory.
Ito naman po, press freedom, tulad nung nangyari sa ABS-CBN franchise.
Importante, ma'am, ay sana po yung BIR, no? Binigyan muna ng notice advisory ang ABS to pay and to comply with obligations. Why would it take a Congress pa, no, to withdraw franchise? Because syempre sabi niya is a grantor, but grabe naman po, in a time of Philippines becoming the most dangerous country for journalists, sana po the Congress, I as a senator can show first compliance of obligations as prerequisite, executive actions before legislative, that withdrew definitely the franchise. I am a journalist, so I respect first press freedom.
Okay, let's go to corruption, ma'am. 3 dekada na, bata pa kami, college pa lang, corruption na. So, how do you intend to finally have do you have some clear, doable programs to address yun talagang sa kailalim-laliman ng corruption?
Incentivize, ma'am, reporting of corruption. Incentivize COA, who are auditors, who check on LGUs, the mayors, the governors, on reports, should be able to incentivize from within the offices, like an NBI baiting operation, that incentivizing whistleblowers who can report on corrupt practices from within the office. And so I hope that I become an instrument as well. Transparency and governance is TAG, through open governance, the website, through awards, through these mechanisms that can be put into a law or additional measures. No, these are things that I could push for.
Okay, let's go to education, ma'am. Yung latest PISA results natin o Program for International Student Assessment that was shared by DepEd showed na ang Pilipinas is talagang lagging behind, no, in science, math, English, communication. Nakakalungkot, ma'am. Sandali, ma'am. Nakaano na naman kayo? Yan. One more time. Are you okay?
Go ahead, ma'am.
Yan. Sige, ma'am. Narinig niyo po ba yung introduction
DepEd,
ko?
the DepEd
Yes,
family.
so ganito,
Yeah, DepEd.
ma'am. Kasi in 3 years, magpipisa uli tayo. Meron ba kayong mga programang naiisip para naman tumaas ang ating PISA ranking? Diyan sa mga
PISA,
subjects
ma'am,
na
I'm
yan.
sorry. I don't seem to follow on the PISA. What?
Okay.
This is the
PISA is the Program for International Student Assessment, no? So
okay.
sabi ng DepEd, nahuhuli tayo sa lahat ng key subjects sa basic education.
Yes, ma'am.
Science, math, English, communication. So, in 3 years time, kasi may bagong PISA na naman na mangyayari, meron ba kayong naiisip na pwedeng gawin para maiangat ang ranking ng mga public school students?
The students these days, ma'am, I'm a youth leader, are very visual. They're very organic on graphics. They're very organic on online and social media material. And I wish that our teachers are adaptive in this technology so that they can get the interest and attention and level of commitment from studentry. We don't have dumb students, ma'am. We just need to innovatively entice them to learn more the concepts in learning by using the visual talent that they have. Sadly, it's a social media generation. It's a very, very visual age for them. And so my PISA assessment or recommendation is for aid towards teachers to be able to use social media technology as much as possible.
Okay, and how about budget sa edukasyon natin?
Lalo pa mo, ma'am, I think we do have little percentage devoted to minimum basic needs as education, health. And as a woman, of course, I push for allocation higher than just the military and defense, right, ma'am?
Correct. Yes, ma'am. Meron po tayong 2.3 million out of school youth na ayaw natin mapunta sa droga, no, sa mga masasamang bisyo at mga early pregnancy, and we want them to be productive. When elected as senator, how do you think can you help them?
Youth development, ma'am, is already in law. We just need to, as senators, to remind the mayors, the barangays, to set up these youth activities related to leadership, to writing, to articulation, to social media that's responsible, no to fake information. So I would push for out-of-school youths to access this kind of training so that, as Isko is, he was almost an out-of-school youth when he before Tondo. He was a sidecar driver. I think that there were also questions in the side box, no? But yeah, there's so many programs you can do for OSYs that has to be institutionalized by the National Youth Commission, by the DepEd, by the DLG, by the barangays.
Okay, ma'am, ito sa ating participant. Isko has said that he will continue the policies and programs of Duterte. Do you agree with that?
That are good. That are good. There's
Okay.
no completion about it, and I will become the vanguard naman po, ma'am. Please consider that Isko, we continue to feed into each other's mind. So whatever he says, I'm sure we can always, when we do get the seat, ma'am, in case, God wills, if we do get the seat, we'll always be able to debate each other. And he knows where I'm coming from. And of course, he will continue the good things. Like he said, build hospitals, build more bed capacities, build vaccination, build roads, build the Mindanao roads that were not built, and other provincial roads. So these are the build positive things that Duterte, under the Duterte, he will continue. And of course, in the drug killings, he will not, of course, continue that.
Okay, ma'am. Regarding Isko pa rin, rumors abound that Isko will team up with Sara Duterte. If true, where do you stand on this? And why?
Sadly, I'm not the campaign manager, ma'am. And if I'm asked on my stand, Sarah, I haven't heard her platforms yet. Although on the military training of young people, I've heard that. I'm not really in agreement with Sarah on youth and military training. We can do disaster risk preparedness, public safety, Red Cross partnerships. Um, I'll I haven't thought about it yet. Of course, I have to hear Sarah what she offers, but I'm dedicated to Doc Willie. I know Doc Willie. We've dedicated and to each other. Doc Willie supports
Mhm.
me. I support Doc Willie, and I'm a party person as well.
Okay. Ma'am, ito, why did you align with Isko? Couldn't you have run as guest candidate in the Lenny Kiko slate?
It was an Action Democratico party that invited me.
Mhm.
Isko, well, I didn't know really he was even going to formally really run for the presidency. And if he was our action president. I knew that by August, that was the invitation to me. So I accepted the party invitation for me to hold a position as a board member, able to influence and talk to 4,000 candidates. And that for me as a woman is of great responsibility. And I'm humbled, ma'am. This is not about Isko and Sam. This is about a party. This is about an organization. And so when it chose to make Isko run, then of course it's a party decision.
Mhm. Okay. Ma'am, do you agree na dapat nang i-decongest ang Metro Manila? At kung,
Ma'am, syempre probinsyana ma'am ako
so
at the
paano
age of
kaya?
21.
Paano,
Yes,
how will you attract investment?
at the age of 21, I saw that if young people are incentivized after college, thousands of us go to UST, to the Ivy League schools of Manila. And if we are incentivized to see the beauty and the grandeur and the health and the distressing effect of a province life, I will make it into a incentivized law that brings our young people back to provinces. And of course, we were angry at that time when the pandemic. We urged people to come from Manila, NCR, to the provinces,
Mhm.
thereby bringing the COVID down, diba? But it really helped a lot for me as a youth to be able to experience the provincial life now for 20 years or 30 years. So that for me, incentivizing um, return back to the provinces, giving better opportunities for medical people to practice in the provinces by allowances, additional allowances and protection for them because may mga ano po hazards sa kanila daw pinapatay po ng ilan. So these need really incentives for them now protection.
Okay, ma'am. Ito naman, inflation daw. So, how do you plan to curb inflation? Ekonomista to.
Well, yeah, I'm not an economist person. I'm more of a peace person,
Peace
social
person.
studies. Yes, but as an economic student, I remember that if you really jumpstart and push for SMEs, which I come from the small industry. My family is into the Macau. This is the milk tea. And if we are able to bring as many of the middle class to invest into the economy, increase generate purchasing capacity, that'll I think improve the economy, right, ma'am? If we support the MSMEs, I'll be in Go Negosyo by next week. I think March plus
Uh-huh.
with Joey Concepcion on the
Okay.
forum. Yeah.
Ma'am, about the military, how do you want them to be used in nation building?
It's wonderful, ma'am, that the military has always been there as our defender of our national territory. Now they've been even our protector in humanitarian, in disaster, in crisis. And therefore, we find that the military talent is so versatile that they can also assist us in public safety when it's only the police role, di ba po, ma'am? But
Yes.
sometimes it's really the military who is present in so many locations of mountains that we cannot trek. That, for instance, an eagle, a inner wheel, a volunteer for so many rescue operations, find that it's the military that can support such assistance to civilians. So I look at the military no longer in the war mode, but in the rescue support mode.
Mm. Okay, ma'am. Now let's go to cyberspace or digital space. Kasi currently there are amendments to the cybercrime law that are being studied in the Senate. This is because of the explosion of disinformation, misinformation, and cyber harassment. So, considering that the cyberspace is dominated by big companies like FB, Google, etc., diba? And meron pang troll farms or influencers that might be also operated from abroad. How do you believe that proposed amendments will be possible at all sa Senate level?
Cybercrime laws are existing right now already. And so I'm very concerned with cyber pornography. It's so accessible. I have a 6-year-old son, and in this pandemic, we saw the increase of pornography in the homes when we can't even watch our children and their cell phones gadget use. So cybercrime, disinformation, all these are in the category of destroying the very fundamentals of press and factual presentation of material. So we should fight cybercrime as much as possible. Make our watchdogs guardians of the telcos, or these people watchdogs who are supposed to guard over the telcos. Fight cybercrime seriously more. Assist the NBI. Assist them to be able to track down all these data, all these users who are responsible and bordering on crime.
Ma'am, ito naman, regarding government bureaucracy. Kasi po maski na si Senator Mig Subiri pushed for a bill for ease of business, we are still in a rut. For example daw, sa FDA, it takes months or even a year to release permits, certifications, and other documents, thus affecting the work of companies. Marami na daw batas. In fact, too many. And we still can't move investments and business startups fast. So what can be done here para mapabilis nga ang pagninegosyo ng mga Pilipino?
One-stop shop, one-stop shop, one-stop shop. We saw that if you put in the centralized server or centralized system where DTI and all these line agencies are harmonized, synchronized, kaya nga, huwag kayo magalit yung mga HR on the idea. Kasi it's all centralized, you know that this is the same person that you have to serve, and towards the end, ito yung kailangan niya, at mayroong 3-day or 5-day, di ba po, na ARTA. Kailangan may deadline agad na documentation na needed, na output necessary. So I'll push for the one-stop shop, that there's just one server or one link that will process everything, and the output should be able to reach you there.
Okay. Ma'am, ito, SGD tayo, Sustainability Development Goals, no? So there are 17 SGDs, and among them, the Philippines prioritized 5 of them. Kung maalala nyo, it's quality education, decent work and economic growth, reduce the inequalities, climate action, and peace, justice, and strong institutions. Sabi ng National Review, we are lagging behind these 5 goals due to the pandemic. As a senator, what will you do to put us back on track?
Of course, the NEDA is the policy actor of everyone, di ba po, and the National Economic Development Authority. Kaya lang wala yata siyang authority to baston Yung parang, hello guys, this is 2 months. Dapat natapos natin to. Baston, baston, baston. And that, I think, is the role of a senator, is to be able to remind all line agencies and weekly reports, weekly presentations. I hope I can be that instrument na I will be able to call DTI, the economic agencies to task, social agencies to task, the education agencies to task, because sabi mo nga, ma'am, all the perfect laws are in place Kailangan lang bantayan. So, pregnancies, teenage pregnancies, okay, nag-decrease na, hooray. Pero ano naman ang suporta natin sa mga na-impregnate? Anong suporta natin sa mga RH, responsible parenting and our reproductive health? Naku, ma'am, going around the country and around these esquinitas, normal pa rin ang young women na pregnant, normal pa rin ang 10 children or 5 children minimum. Napakaraming mga bata po at payat, malnutrition, maraming bansot po. So definitely the youth, our vulnerable sectors, these are programmings that are needed. The SWD, plus other agencies that need to look into food and access to MBN, minimum basic needs So pagbaston lang po naman, ma'am, yan pagbaston.
Mukhang babastunin
Shepherd, ma'am. Shepherd.
Ito, ma'am. As a peace advocate, what is your agenda in security sector reform?
So the deliverables, like the earlier, kanina, ma'am, the MBNs on the 5 SDGs on peace and security. Syempre, ma'am, di ba, the measurement has decreased crime So I'm the great advocate of civilian participation, supporting the civilian relations of the police. Maliit daw, ma'am, yung budget, or if not, zero budgeting ang many of the provinces and locations with conflicts and crimes, na high crimes, on civilian cooperation sa PNP and Army. I would support organic ang civilian. Not that they're intimate. You talk to them in their backgrounds, in their communities, and that builds trust to our security force.
Sige, ma'am. At this point, we need to wrap up na po. So, ang ipakikita namin, ma'am, muna ang slide ninyo. So, kung napupusuan po ninyo na magkaroon sa Senado ng isang babaeng taga Mindanao tulad ni Samira Gutok, upang ang land of the promise ay maging tunay na masagana at mapayapa, ito po ang mga detalye kung paano kayo magbibigay ng donasyon. Pakita natin ang slide. Yan. So, paki-screenshot na lang po. Ito po ang bank details kung saan kayo.
Oh, so sweet, ma'am. So sweet. Thank you so much, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I support the peace process, ma'am. I support the peace process. I am the girl, PAACE, peace, peace. Definitely dialogue, mediation, negotiation. Ako yung babae niyan, tutok-tok dyan. Tututok po ako dyan. Kumakatok po ako sa mga puso. I've been tested on this, ma'am.
At saka may energy pa kayo, di ba? 47 lang kayo eh. Tama ba?
I hope so, ma'am. I hope so that ako ay makulit, as I said. I am makulit. I'm a makulit girl.
O ma'am, ulitin natin. Mabilis lang yung platform nyo.
Platform on internally displaced persons from natural disaster, from conflict, from crisis and pandemic. We need to protect the vulnerables. We need to protect the Filipinos by providing access to ayuda, definitely, and sanitation and health and water. I
Okay.
also push for anti-discrimination. Please help me spread the cause. Social media, if there are donors out there, thank you. Link me up to them. I make time hanggang 10 p.m. to meet with anybody. Pasensya na mo, we're on the road regularly, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. I'm hoping I can convince more people to donate to this cause.
Ma'am, last message ninyo sa lahat, sa amin at sa ating mga kababayan.
Maraming salamat po. Mabuhay Ateneo. You bring dignity, you bring philosophy, you bring learning, humility into the learning process. Let me be this instrument of this woman who tries to walk the path of Mother Teresa, but in the world of politics, sadly, walang Mother Teresa yata dito eh. Bilyones ang pinagagastos nila. Eh ako lang po, ma'am. Sadly po, 3 million pa lang. 3 million pa lang yata ang may gagastos ko for ads na tatlo lang, di ba? 1 million ang ad eh.
Yes, yes.
So hopefully I find the 3 million so that I can have 3 worthy ads that the Philippine public can watch. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Ma'am, thank you. Sandali, mag-photo op lang tayo, ha? Okay lang po?
Maraming salamat po, Ateneo 80.
So, pakibukas ang inyong mga camera para tayo mag-photo. Ma'am,
God first.
we will send you the link to this video, ha, ma'am? Okay, everybody
Maraming
smile.
salamat po.
Salamat po, God bless. Yung number ko, no?
Major support na now for Sarah at for Isko and Sarah.
We'll send po the link of the recording later on so your staff can also send this out.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Ma'am, good luck.
Maraming salamat.
Oh, God bless. Humbled,
Salamat
humbled,
po.
ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. More than
Good
words
luck
can say,
po.
I'm so grateful, ma'am, for organizing this forum. Pasensya na po. I apologize deeply, ma'am, for the twice the delay natin, ma'am.
Wala pong
Salamat.
problema.
Thank you.
God bless,
Po,
Thank you
ma'am.
po.
Thank you.
Okay, salamat ma'am. So ang susunod nating panayam ay sa March 8, Tuesday. At ang kinatawan ni Senator Laila de Lima ang ating kakausapin. Mukhang maintriga ito, kaya samahan ninyo kami sa March 8. So maraming salamat sa lahat at ang magtatapos tayo sa pamamagitan ng isang dasal.
Take and receive, O Lord, my liberty. Take all my will, my might, my memory. return it to be governed by your will. Just say your word to me, at once I will obey. Your love is wealth enough for me. All else will I forgo. Take and receive, O Lord, my liberty. Take all my will, my mind, my memory. All that I have, you have given all to me. Now I return to be governed by your will. Just say your words to me, and once I will obey. Your love is wealth enough for me. All else will I forgo. Take and receive, O Lord, my liberty. Take